when you're doing something for the Lord, you're going to get attacked, and you just got to press through that and just say, not today. This is we're going to do what we set out to do and what God wants us to do.
Just about being obedient and saying, hey, God, are you going to use this to help somebody else? And can I just say yes to it? Can I just be that voice who calls that young lady and says, I don't know what you're feeling, but I just wanted to call and tell you I'm here. That's ministry. That is carrying God's ministry forward.
Your blended family has a 100% chance of success when you do it God's way. We're Blended Kingdom Families, and we want to provide biblical resources to heal and restore families with a message of hope for the next generation.
Hey guys, welcome back to the BKF podcast. We are so excited you're here with us today. If you haven't already, pause, take an opportunity, subscribe to this podcast. We would love to alert you every week when we drop a new podcast. Plus, it keeps you connected with us. You can also send us an email at info@blendedkingdomfamilies.com with any suggestions, feedback, or ideas that you'd like to discuss in future podcast episodes. But today, we're joined by some very special people.
Yes, you guys, we have our good friends, Tim and Sandie Noack. We have been in touch with you guys, for the past 4 years now. Yeah, because y'all did the Blended Kingdom Project.
Wow,
I got to learn.
That was a long time ago.
But we love Tim and Sandie. They're amazing partners of the ministry, friends of ours. And I always tell people, and I mentioned this at the conference, I was like, I wish we would have had you guys when we were in our fire season. And we're going to kind of talk about that today and talk about community within blended families, because you guys, y'all have led a lot of groups. You've been able to be kind of like spiritual parents. I know to like a lot of people, like our friends Kevin and Jana, and so I'm excited to dive in. But I first want to tell everybody about you guys. So Tim and Sandie have been married for 28 and a half years. Y'all, we have a lot to learn from them. They are a blended family. Together they have 5 children. Tim brought 3 boys into the marriage, and Sandie brought 1 son and 1 daughter, and they have 8 grandchildren. Okay, wow, that's a lot, you guys. Tim has recently retired from 40 plus years as a consulting engineer, and Sandie is a payroll manager in the Louisville ISD area, and they have led small groups for over 20 years. So you guys have a lot of experience in this blended family stuff.
A lot of wisdom.
A lot of wisdom.
A lot of don't do that. Maybe you should try this. Yeah. I mean, there are things there.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about what you guys enjoy doing, a little bit about your family. Just anything you want people to know.
I'll let you take that. Do you want to do that?
Oh, thanks. Well, when we're all together, it's very chaotic. We've just experienced that over Christmas, and it's a lot of fun. And I've learned not to try to even cook anymore. We usually bring food in. It's paper plates. It's simple, but we're just kind of in a new season of our life with his recent retirement, and so we're trying to figure that out right now. But I'm still working. I'm the breadwinner right now, and
you said you have a house husband. That's what
yes. He's my new house husband.
New title you have, Tim.
He has dinner ready when I get home, and that's kind of cool.
Trying to work through that role, the dinner part.
The dinner part.
Yes.
You're the trophy husband.
The cabana boy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's funny.
Well, I love that. And I know you guys, and this is our community, and we all live kind of in the same area, so we're very familiar with our community. And whether you live in this DFW area or outside, really talking about the importance of community. Leading small groups for 20 years. So this is my thought when I hear that. The amount of people and generations that you've touched is probably really hard to comprehend. To fully understand the grasp. It's almost like you can't understand it until you get to heaven, and you're like, hey guys, this is the people, the generations that you touched.
Yeah.
But for 20 years, what is leading small groups? Why is that important? Why do you love doing that?
Well, we started out by probably not intending to lead a group like that. I think our path began when we both went through unwanted divorces. And then we both went through a divorce recovery program there at a church in Amarillo. And I mean, it basically, the Lord healed our hearts through that process. We both went through a single parenting class, which followed that up. And so we had sound, godly, instructional advice on how to work through those, the first, the devastating event of a divorce, and then now kind of putting that family back together. And then we later met and dated and then married and moved down to the Metroplex area here. And really, so we found a church, probably about 300 or 400 people, and small church, tried to get plugged in, this new blended family with 5 kids, and they were all from grade school up to middle school, that type of thing. And one of the families there went through a divorce. And so we were kind of like, isn't anybody going to kind of help them through that? And Sandie reached out to the young lady that was going through this situation, and like we had received training and gone through that ourselves, and so her heart just reached out to her, and she met with her and just mentored her through that process. And then another one came along in that same small church, and she stepped in and helped in that regard, and we kind of like,
we were kind of fish out of water except for what we had been through. So we reached out to our home church in Amarillo and the pastor that had helped us so much. And he actually came down and trained us. And we did a media blast and things around the Metroplex to try to start what they called Whole Again. It didn't take off quite as well, and I was disappointed at the time. And then, the Lord just kind of spoke to me. It's not about the numbers. It's about the people that you do have. And so we pretty much is one-on-one mentoring. And we did do the whole, it just kind of stayed within our church. But we had it by word of mouth. We had people from other churches attend some too, but that's just kind of how, and we did that for a few years until we kind of just needed a break.
So we didn't ask to start. That wasn't our intention to start this group, and that kind of, but that's how it began. And then we've had other things happen in our life that kind of led us to where we are today.
Yeah, the Lord always says, I mean, it just seems to me, and I heard that a long time ago, but when you go through something, it's usually, and there's a scripture,
2 Corinthians 1, verse 4.
that says, when you go through something, then that's a way then to reach out to others and help them, give them a hand up for what you've just learned. And that's, whether it was going through the divorce recovery, and then how to be a single parent properly, how you date as a single parent and how not to date as a single parent.
Yeah.
And then, once you do meet someone and you remarry, it's important to have Jesus in your new marriage, and then how to do that properly. It's just where we were is what we did. And then when we got here, we started having huge step parent issues or blended family issues. And that's when we were like, well, does anyone have a blended family group? And no one did. And they're like, well, why don't you do it? So right we're in the middle of our war, basically, with everything, is when we started the group. And so we're in the heat of battle, but yet we're reaching out to others that are in the same.
And again, why don't you start a group? Well, what resources do you have? And the church had no resources. And they said, but if you find some, we'll pay for them. So, okay. So the search began. We went on a family vacation up to Colorado not long after that, and went by Focus on the Family and asked them. And then they introduced us to the Ron Deal book, and we used that as our guidebook at that time. And that was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
We also reached out to some people we know who, well, my uncle and aunt they are a blended family, and they're,
Yeah.
half a generation or a generation older than us, and they had done that successfully. So
Yeah.
we reached out to them for help as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, it's serve where you are.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, I think it's just and this is the part for me that I love about people as we interact with the ministry. It's not about necessarily, you look and you say, well, teacher or group leader, and you think, well, I'm not, I have to be this dynamic person, or I have to write all this, or I have to. It's just about being obedient and saying, hey, God, are you going to use this to help somebody else? And can I just say yes to it? Can I just be that voice who calls that young lady and says, I don't know what you're feeling, but I just wanted to call and tell you I'm here. That's ministry. That is carrying God's ministry forward, and it's touching people. And that's the part where I wish people would just embrace is you have a story. God's not going to let that go to waste, and be a part, join, be willing to go and take that step. And that's what we're seeing through Blended Kingdom Families, through all the groups that are launching. We're seeing that obedience, and we're seeing lives change. So it's a big part of that.
Yeah. And, after doing this for 20 years, I mean, I'm sure you guys you probably have seen it all. You've seen, I always say the good, the godly, and the ugly, because blended family, I mean, you just never know. Some people are in that fire dumpster season, so to speak. Some are going into an empty nesting, like some are more peaceful, I know. And even in our own blended family and yours, you have those seasons where it's good and then where it's not so good. And then, you're back up top again. But can you guys kind of speak into, just your thoughts, like how can the support of a small group positively impact the emotional well-being and resilience of a blended couple and their blended family? Like, how have you seen that in y'all's experience? Like, how has that positively impacted those families?
Well, for one, it encourages them that it can be done.
Yeah.
And, it gives them hope and encouragement in that regard. Then also there's the just offering practical advice, and on what worked for us or what didn't work for us, and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, the enemy wants to tell you that you're the only one, or you're just horrible or miserable or whatever, or your kids are horrible, or you've no one's ever experienced an ex like mine. And when you get together and you share stories, and just share your heart, you see, and then you always see that you're not the only one, and somebody may have it a little worse than you. You think you're so bad, or you can't make it or do it or continue on with your marriage or whatever, but you find out, wow, he was a horrible husband, and look at them now they're great. I used to love that about the Jimmy Evans story and stuff.
Yeah.
We're big Jimmy Evans fans, and so just their testimony, that was really helpful to us too. And and to know that if you give your marriage to God, and you have that cord of three, or the strands of three, that's not broken, and you can get through anything if you have His help.
Yeah.
Jimmy's just a world of good
No,
nuggets.
yeah, he's just a bucket of wisdom. But, Sandie, as you were speaking, I mean, that's the thing that we hear from people that encounter the ministry all the time is, I feel alone, or I thought I was the only one. Even when we've had the Blended Family Conference, the thing that we always hear, we'll ask our team, like, did y'all hear any reoccurring themes? Like, as you were talking to people, and people just said, it felt so good to know that I wasn't alone. I thought I was the only one. And I think that you're right. The enemy, the accuser, he wants you to, isolation. I mean, that's it's that, and to get you to mistrust the heart of God. I mean, I think those are his number one tactics. And so, when he makes you think that I have the worst ex, or we have the worst blended family, mess ever, like we're, it's the worst or whatever, that prevents you from being in community. And like you were talking about, Tim, receiving that support and encouragement and hope, because we've seen the benefits of community. Obviously you guys have, for doing this for 20 years, and it's powerful. And I think it's a great place to, one, have accountability, to have that mentorship, but also to have people covering you and praying for you, and you need that. It may be one couple in one season is really struggling, but in the next they're super strong, and then you're the one struggling. And so to be able to have that, I think is very powerful, and it's needed.
Yeah.
Very needed.
Let me ask you this question. How do you think serving blended families has impacted your marriage?
Ooh, that's good.
What has it done for you? And how would you describe that to people?
Well, for one, in leading, say, a blended family group or whatever, it more or less forced us to prepare and read and study, and which in turn helps us. But then, sitting and visiting with them, and maybe going through the material with them, you hear something that you didn't expect. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we've never experienced that. And then we kind of work through it together.
Yeah.
And then, maybe a year later, here we are walking through that as well. So I think there's some mutual benefits that we both receive on working through those.
Yeah.
I will say, to be honest, though, there are times, and the enemy is alive and well, that there would be a time where his ex may have called him on his way home, and we're about to prepare or go, and then he gets in trouble or whatever, and I could just tell by his countenance that, uh-oh. And then we're about to go help somebody, but all of a sudden we're in something, or one of the kids does something horrible, and it was just like the enemy trying to get us off track. And if you press through those things, or just you want to cancel, or you want to do something, this is horrible, and then you just press through, and then if we followed through and went, it was the most dynamic group we had that night. It was the enemy trying to get our focus off of what we were to do, trying to distract us or whatever. But if it's going to happen. When you're doing something for the Lord, you're going to get attacked, and you just got to press through that and just say, not today. This is we're going to do what we set out to do and what God wants us to do. Yeah. And the enemy can go back to where he came from.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will tell you, Sandie, the number of times that, people get to watch what Vanessa and I do, and we put out the number of times that we have walked in
on podcasting day, y'all.
Just being honest. Yeah. The number of times we've walked into doing ministry and literally just been in huge arguments about something that's going on.
And it's interesting, like we were doing a podcast earlier, and we were talking about the XO conference, and Sandie and Tim, y'all were there last year. We speak at the conference, and we're doing a breakout session again this year. But it was interesting because I was speaking to a lot of the wives of the speakers as we were there, and everybody was experiencing, not to give the enemy credit, warfare in their marriage before this conference. And it's no wonder when you are, like you said, doing something from the Lord, and as much as the enemy hates family and what God has created, he will fight you so hard to deter you from doing those things. And we even hear that from our group leaders. So if you ever decide to lead a group, we have a Facebook group specifically just for our group leaders, where we give them encouragement, we check in on them. And a lot of them, they're experiencing defeat, or they're feeling discouraged because it's one couple that shows up, or their marriage is getting attacked, their blended family is getting attacked. And we've even had that when with our employees that are coming on board. They're like, man, I'm experiencing a lot of stuff now that wasn't going on. And so you're right, it is very real. And when you are doing something that the Lord is calling you to do, and to help these marriages and families, you experience that.
Well, it's the discouragement that keeps us from moving forward.
Yeah.
And so, and that's where we just kind of, just really aggressively and positively look at it and say, whether if you're leading in your local church or if you're listening to this, the number of people that we meet that are like, I'd like to maybe do a group. And then for whatever reason, maybe they don't end up doing that. Maybe they feel attacked. Maybe they feel disqualified. There's the reasons go endless. So my question to you guys is, if you were talking to, and there's a couple listening, I know that they're listening, and they're saying, gosh, this sounds like something I'd like to do. What would you individually, how would you encourage them to break past any barrier right now and move forward with starting a small group or doing something inside their church?
Well, for one, if you feel that nudge inside, don't ignore it. Try to be obedient to it. And I don't know, I'm reminded of a sermon I heard years ago about, the Lord coming to Moses when he was asking him to, let my people go. And he asked, what's in your hand? And it was, of course, his staff. Well, you can ask yourself that, what's in your hand? Well, we had an unwanted divorce in our hand, and we used that, to reach out to those others going through that. And then, blended family, that's the staff in our hand at that particular season in our life. And more recently, I had cancer, and we now lead the cancer support group in our church. So, that was the staff placed in my hand at one point. So don't feel unworthy or don't feel unqualified. I mean, just be obedient and know that he's going to help you out in those kind of situations.
Yeah, and don't focus on the numbers. There was many times, sometimes we had the groups at our house, and you're doing all the cleaning and all of that, and then no one comes. But when we did the blended family, we had a host home, and that couple actually that volunteered to be our host home, they were a blended family too, and they had been married 30 years. So that was, we were leading, but we looked to them because they had more experience than we did, and we'd pick their brains too. But there would be times that no one would come, so we'd go out to eat with them and pick their brains and just just get to know them better or whatever, and have fellowship with them. Or the one time, for a couple of months, I think, of that semester, only one couple showed. And then they were struggling. And then the end of that, only she showed. But we poured into her. So whoever comes, find out why it's only them, and pour into them. And God will bring you who needs to hear.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's not important about the numbers. It's the one-on-one sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
Love it.
It's good.
Love it. Well, I think the whole purpose of Blended Kingdom Families, and we've loved your partnership with BKF. It's been a life source for us. But the purpose of Blended Kingdom Families is so that people will have community, so that they can take the curriculum that's been written. So Vanessa and I wrote Blended and Redeemed. I guess it was 2 years ago now.
Seems like. It'll be two years in September.
So Blended and Redeemed, great foundation book for blended families. It comes with a study guide that you can implement in your small group or in your church. I'm getting to it. And it gets videos. And that's the great thing about having a wife. She will not let you forget anything. And we have videos. So that's there. Then you have, like you said, you have the Facebook online support. You have our entire team at Blended Kingdom Families that will get on the phone with you if you need to, talk you through how to maybe have a conversation with your church, how to start. All of these resources are there to facilitate an opportunity where one blended family who feels a calling to say, let me love on another. And then all of a sudden an invitation is put out, and maybe it's just one person showing up. Maybe it's 100. I don't know.
Right.
But the obedience of just saying yes. Don't let the enemy tell you you're unqualified.
Right.
What is it you always say? Jesus will qualify the called. If you want to do this and you feel like it's a need, don't wait, just step in obedience, and you have the resources.
Right. He's looking for the willing heart.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. I think it's God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Is that what you said? I can't remember. Did I say that right? It's from Max Lucado.
Yeah.
I can remember. But no, I mean, well, it's so true. I mean, and it's even, you know, like I think about what you just said, Tim, with the staff in your hand. Like, what's in your hand? Like, what is it that you, and it's having that conversation with the Lord. It's asking the Lord, asking God, what is it, Lord, that you would have me do to help family? If you have a burden for marriages or blended families or teens, you know, what is it that you would have me do or share and be a part of? And he'll tell you. Like, the Lord's very clear on that. I mean, conversation in the car led us to here we are today with the Lord, you know? And so I didn't think we had just gotten out of our litigation season. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That's messy. No blended families. But you know, when you feel that stirring and you do step into that and you're like, okay, Lord, like I'll do this with you. And then seeing and being able to experience all these families. And, you know, we learn from so many people. We get to learn from you guys. We're that couple that's, you know, we're coming to y'all. Michael's about to leave and we're in a new season. I'm like, gosh, what is this going to look like? And we have 3 little still at the house.
Well, let me say one more thing. And I want to give people perspective on this. Because we tend to have this very narrow-minded concept of, and this is just human nature. We can only see and feel what's maybe right around us. But imagine the conversation with Jesus when he says, hey, remember back then when you said that and you made that decision and you had that conversation with that young lady or that family? By the way, do you see those 5,000 people behind them? I knew that you were going to do this, and because you did that, 5,000 of these people accepted Jesus. You never saw it. How are you going to feel in that moment? I mean, can you imagine that feeling of going, wow, how many generations were changed because of
Yes.
God's victory, Satan's defeat in that, enemy lost, you made a choice to move forward. That's what I would say to encourage people is imagine the heavenly benefit of that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't do it for the reward, but
Yeah.
a reward you will have, you know, you will both, I think, now and then, like you said, in the future.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, Tim and Sandie, we're wrapping up, but we ask this to everybody that comes onto the podcast. So
I think they know. They probably watched our podcast a couple times.
probably.
Yeah.
But yeah. So blended kingdom families. What is a blended kingdom family to you? When you hear that name, what comes to heart and mind?
Well, it's I think of a blended family, step family that's adopting and implementing, you know, God's principles for a family.
Yeah.
And then moving that family forward, being a reflection of him to others.
Yeah.
I love that.
Good. That's
Absolutely.
I love it.
Love it.
And I want to thank you guys because I really wish we had your resources when we were going through
Absolutely.
this. And we're very
Absolutely.
impressed with everything you're doing. And God obviously has you where you need to be, and He's calling you, and you're taking it to the stars. You know, it's
Thank
awesome.
you. We couldn't do it without you guys and your support. It means everything to us because you know it's like we were talking about earlier. I mean, it's not always easy, and when you know you have people who are supporting you, and we truly count it a joy and an honor, and it's a passion to be able to serve and do it alongside you guys. Because again, you guys, if y'all think we have wisdom, they've got a lot more.
Yeah.
And so, and we all need each other. We talk about it all the time. We're like, if the kingdom's this big dinner table and Jesus is serving the main dish, like we all have a side or something that we can serve one another, and that we need from one another, because we're entering into a season that, I mean, we have no idea.
Yeah.
So there's probably gonna be a lot of tears, because there have been already. But you know, there's gonna be conversations about when our oldest gets married, when grandchildren come into the picture, and you know, how do you navigate that even co-parenting, so to speak, when you have adult kids, and what does that look like? And
Yeah.
I know sometimes you just want to, like when you're in the blended family mixer, you just want to get through that day. But with 8 grandkids, it's kind of like, okay, you can look forward to that one day,
Yeah.
and there's your reward for getting through that day.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. But we love you guys, and thank you all so much. And thank you for coming on today and sharing your heart and wisdom on all of this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's been amazing. And I hope anyone that's listening is just encouraged. If you're looking for a part of community, if you're like, hey guys, I need the one that needs to be mentored, like we're here to help with that. If you're the one saying, hey, I am in a season where I would love to give back and just share what God has done in and through our family to help others, like we are here to help you guys do that. And so reach out to the ministry, blendedkingdomfamilies.com. You can email us at info@blendedkingdomfamilies. We have coaching if you need mentorship, one-on-one, family coaching, and then we have the groups also.
Yeah, I just encourage anybody who's listening, be Sandie and Tim. I don't know how to make it more simple. Like, just go be them, be obedient, watch the heavenly rewards, watch it affect your own blended family.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, I don't know if we said this and we're wrapping up, but I have a thought. I got to say my thought.
Yeah.
I will say, doing ministry together will bind your marriage together.
Oh gosh.
It will do things for your own marriage and your own generation that will be phenomenal. So I just want to encourage you guys, don't be scared, jump off. You're fine. Just do it.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody and be the Sandie and Tim of wherever you are. So guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We hope that you have loved this episode. Subscribe. You will be notified every single week when we drop a new episode. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Be blessed in all that you do. Hey friends, so glad you were here with us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can find more resources from Blended Kingdom Families at blendedkingdomfamilies.com. Join us again next time as we talk about more blended family topics. Be blessed in all that you do, and remember, nothing will be impossible with God.